Welcome back to the Queen's Jinx channel. I really appreciate you guys tuning in the video, and I must first say thank you all for all the love, feedback, and likes you've been getting on the previous videos. And I hope you guys are enjoying the little mini-series that I have going with my friend called the Die Hard versus the Casual. We have a lot of fun making those videos, and I hope you guys are liking them as well. So, that said, today we're going to be getting into 5 under-the-radar USMNT prospects that desperately need a loan or a change of scenery. So, for the sake of this video, my definition of under-the-radar prospect is going to be someone who at one point has showed potential, but for whatever reason they haven't quite cracked the senior squad. And obviously for this sake of the video, I think it has a little bit to do with their surroundings. So that said, let's get into our number one. So our number one is a guy that I know quite well because he plays for my favorite team, and if you can't tell from the scarf behind me, it's QPR. We're going to go with the American striker by the name of Charlie Kellman. Now, Charlie is only 19 years old, so he still has plenty of time to develop. So don't think that I want him away from QPR, because I don't. In fact, I love having an American on QPR now that Jeff Cameron's gone. So that said, he came up through the ranks of South End, and in 2016-17, I believe it was, or 17-18, he famously scored 61 goals for their youth team, which is a lot, so the kid can clearly score. And in 1920, I believe it was, season, he was actually South End's leading scorer on the senior team in just 18 appearances. So the kid clearly has talent, and QPR took note of that and took him up last year and purchased him. Now, QPR struggled a lot at the beginning of last year. It seemed like Vaughn and Dykes could not buy a goal even if they tried. And we still didn't go to Kellman. And I myself, not even being a biased American, I wanted to see Kellman get a chance. And a lot of other fans did too. A lot of other fans agreed with that as well. But for whatever reason, Mark Warburton, either he doesn't have faith in Kellman yet, or he doesn't think Kellman's at the point where he can contribute to the championship level. Either way, Kellman needs to get playing time, and otherwise he's not going to prove that. And I think he's already proven he can play in League 2. So I think possibly a League 1 team for a loan would be a good adjustment for him right now. And I personally would like to see him go to Wickham. I love Wickham's ownership. I like Garrett Ainsworth, their manager there. I think they would develop him quite well. And it's just a short drive from London. He wouldn't really have to do too much from, I'm not sure where Charlie lives at, but if he lives in London, it's not like he would have to move very far. So that said, he comes in at number 1 on my list. Though I hope he stays with QPR, but I do hope it's a loan. But at some point, he has got to get some playing time. So number 2, I'm going to go with a guy by the name of Indiana Velasiv, which I'm sure everybody here has heard of. He kind of skyrocketed to fame when he started getting some Premier League minutes with Aston Villa not too long ago. So I think it's kind of the same scenario as Charlie Kellman. He's a little bit too young and a little bit too raw right now to crack the senior team. And with Aston Villa being a Premier League team, they're constantly bringing players in, constantly rotating players. And just right now, a 20-year-old prospect doesn't fit in with a Premier League team unless you're just a superstar like Mbappe. So I know Velasiv has went on a couple loans with Villa, which is obviously what he needs to be doing. However, what I'm not the biggest fan of is multiple loans for a player. I think at some point that hampers their ability to grow and their ability to grow with certain people. And, Exhibit A, Matt Miazga. Let's just be real. I don't think he's ever going to play a game for Chelsea. But he's went on loan after loan after loan after loan. And in my opinion, that's actually done him a disservice. And that's not what I want to see for Indiana. I want to see him maybe get a transfer at this point. I think a League 1 team would be perfect. Maybe a team like a recently promoted Bolton, who clearly seem to be set on winning and seem to be going up under their new ownership. So I would like to see him go to a team like Bolton on a permanent transfer or a loan to buy maybe. And I just need to see him get some playing time just like Kellman. I think at this point early on he needs to be playing. Maybe a team like Blackpool, although I wouldn't count on that, even though because they're just promoted to the championship. I'm not sure what they're doing yet. We're going to see in the transfer window coming up, I guess. But either way, I want to see him stay in England, and I want to see him go on a loan to buy or a permanent transfer. So number 3 on my list, I have a guy by the name of Emmanuel Sabbi, which I'm sure a lot of us here are familiar with. The dude is a flat-out baller and a playmaker. He can run by even the quickest defenders at this point. But unlike the other two, I don't necessarily think that he it's playing time that's the issue. I think he's become stagnant, and I think he just needs a change of scenery, if I'm being honest. Sorry about that. I think he needs to go to another league, whether it be a low-level French team, a low-level Italian team, maybe in a high-level French League 2 or a Serie B team. Either way, I just want to see him go somewhere where he can play and get his swagger back, basically. We all know what he can do, and we all know how quick he is, but he needs to go somewhere where he can show those abilities. And I don't have a problem with the league he's in or even the team he's in, but he just needs to change the scenery, in my opinion. So the next guy on my list, and I might make some eye rolls here because he is getting up there in age, and at what point do you stop calling somebody a prospect? I guess that's up for debate. But it's Gooch. He's been a Sunderland youth since 2012, so basically his entire career he's been with Sunderland. And I think that is a great attribute to have, to be loyal to the team who gave you a chance. But at the same time, Sunderland, although I do consider them a decent club, but they're also the most cursed decent club I've ever seen. They've had the team for years to get promoted back into the championship, in my opinion, but for whatever reason, something happens and they don't do it. So that said, I think Linden is a little bit too good for League One. I don't know if he even wants to go on a loan or a transfer, although I would prefer him to be a transfer. I don't think he will. I think he may end up being a Sunderland for lifer at this point, and fingers crossed that Sunderland gets promoted and he gets to see at every level that he wants. So, but if he were to transfer, I'd like to see him go the Luca de la Torre route and maybe go to the Netherlands, maybe Denmark, maybe even Belgium. I would just like to see him play for a team that could potentially, actually now that I'm as of talking, I wouldn't mind seeing him on the Hearts in Scotland. The Hearts in Scotland just recently got promoted back to the Premier League in Scotland. They're constantly going to be on the rise, and they're not going to be wanting to go back down again. So I just want to see him get some Europa League experience in Europe on a decent team, and I think he can do that. I think but I think he's undervalued. Well, I don't think Sunderland undervalues him, but I think League One undervalues him. So the last guy that I want to mention on my list is going to be a guy that I was really high on a few years ago. Beneficia product, Keaton Parks. For a midfielder, he is very tall, 6'4". He does have a U.S. senior squad cap. Granted, he didn't get all that much playing time, but initially when he went to NYCFC on loan, I actually liked the move because clearly he wasn't going to get any playing time at Beneficia at that point in his career. He'd been playing with the B team mainly. He did have some A team experience, but not very much. So I thought the loan move was great. However, I think it's up for debate what his best position actually is. I think long term, we may be looking at a defender instead of a midfielder. So either way, I don't think MLS is the place to develop him as a defender, and I think he's still good enough to be playing even back in Portugal. Maybe not with Beneficia, but I think he's still good enough to be playing in Portugal, or maybe even France, or any of the other leagues that I've mentioned before for some of the other guys, be the Championship or Belgium, Netherlands, whatever. I think he needs to be playing, and I think he needs to be playing in a better league than what he's doing, especially for the skills that I think he needs to develop. So that said, that's my top 5 prospects, under the radar prospects that desperately need a move of a loan or a transfer. So what do you think about the 5 guys I listed? Where would you like to see them go? What prospects that are under the radar that you are high on that you want to see go somewhere else? List them below. Interact with me if you want to. Tell me what you think of the picks. Where do you see a good pick or a good landing spot for some of these guys? Let me know. That said, I hope you guys are enjoying your week, and I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the week. Peace out.